Greetings. I am Prasanta Kalita at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. The Appropriate Scale Mechanization Consortium, the ASMC Phase 2 project is built on the success of ASMC Phase 1. We created an effective network of partners, collaborators, and stakeholders in Asia and Africa. And Phase 1 efforts have resulted in the identification of several technologies that are supposed to increase the crop production and labor productivity and timeliness, and while also reducing the drudgery, especially for women, and targeting value chain development of private sector involvement for scaling. For ASMC2, we built on the Phase 1 activities, targeting a regional approach and in both Asia and Africa, with overall goal of scaling up of this transformational technologies for 5,000 smallholder farmers and 5,000 hectares. Next slide. So I am going to introduce as we go our in this presentation, our various specialists will talk about the goals and objectives of our Phase 2 project, and our methodologies and the impact that we have made, and some of the ways that we have made some advancement and outlook. So with that, let me introduce Mr. Leighton Brown, our project manager for the goals, objectives, and scalable technologies.
Thank you, Dr. Kalita. The overall goal of ASMC Phase 2 is to evaluate and scale transformational technologies for smallholder farmers in Asia and West African regions throughout the innovation hubs that we have established in our focus countries. Our aim is to reach 5,000 hectares and 5,000 farmers. We will do this by putting emphasis on sustainability, scalability, and suitability. We will utilize a 4-pillar approach of technology and innovations, entrepreneurship, policy infrastructure, and capacity building. Throughout all of our efforts, we will focus on gender integration and youth engagement. We have identified 4 main objectives for Phase 2. We want to identify and promote appropriate technologies at the regional level. We will then build local capacity to ensure the farmers' adoption and continued use of the technology. We will develop a local workforce through entrepreneurship and fabrication capacity through workshops for blacksmiths and artisans. And we will also strengthen existing value chains or systems and networks to scale mechanization. The ASMC team is made up of includes a managing entity at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, including our PI, Dr. Prasanta Kalita, myself, the project manager, Dr. Alan Hansen, machine specialist, Dr. George Sapar, our extension and youth engagement specialist. We also have regional coordinators, Dr. Manny Reyes for our Asian region, and Dr. Ajit Srivastava for our West Africa region. We also have team members from the University of Illinois, including our gender specialist, Maria Jones, Dr. Hope Mickelson, and Dr. Alex Winter-Nelson. At Michigan State, we have Dr. Ranjani Ananthakrishnan, Dr. Tim Harrigan, Dr. Nanda Joshi, and Rob Burdick with Tillers International. At North Carolina A&T, we have Dr. Niraj Ariel. Our focus countries for Phase 2 include Senegal, which is also the regional innovation hub for West Africa, Burkina Faso. In Asia, we have our regional innovation hub located at Cambodia, where we will work through our Royal University of Agriculture, and Bangladesh. We have previously worked in Ethiopia for Phase 1, and although it is no longer a focus country for ASMC during Phase 2, we will continue to work with Ethiopia and Bahir Dar Institute to continue to consult and continue our relationship with them. In these countries, we have identified technologies that we hope to scale up. In Bangladesh, we have identified the rice transplanter, which can be seen in the bottom right corner of this slide, 2- and 4-wheel tractor-based seed planter, a reaper pictured on the top right of the slide, and combine harvester, as well as the BAU STR dryer. In Cambodia, we have identified a no-till planter, which can be seen in the top right picture, a broadcaster, leveler, and the roller crimper, which can be seen in the bottom right on the front of the tractor. In Burkina Faso, we've identified a strip till inline ripper, a minimum till single row planter, which can be seen in the top right of the slide, a small scale forage chopper seen at the bottom right of the slide, small scale silage bin, electric 2-wheel tractor, as well as a solar drip irrigation system. In Senegal, we have identified these technologies as being potentially scalable, with high hopes to scale these up throughout our phase 2 efforts. A compost applicator and planter combination, a composting system, a small scale forage chopper, solar drip irrigation system seen at the top right, a 2-wheel tractor, and small scale grain storage, as well as grain drying using the BAU STR dryer pictured in the bottom right. Next, we will hear about pathways for scaling and impact from our machine specialist, Dr. Alan Hansen.
Thank you, Leighton. So as mentioned, my portion of the presentation is to talk briefly about the first 3 items on this list related to pathways for scaling and impact that also emphasize sustainability and self-reliance. The first on the list is about our collaborations in each of the 2 regions, which I will go into a bit. The second concerns a process of technology scalability assessment that we have initiated. Dr. Anantha Krishnan from the Michigan State University team has provided great leadership in establishing this effort and moving it forward. The third item there, which I will not elaborate on, but we would need to include here, is about efforts being made in the Polder area of Bangladesh to collaborate with Dr. Jagadish, a co-PI in the Sustainable Intensification Innovation Lab, regarding machinery interventions in transplanting, seed planting, and harvesting, and also capacity building and strengthening agro-entrepreneurship. The 4th and 5th items, topics here, will be addressed respectively by Maria Jones and George Zapar. Next slide. The collaborative network that we have in West Africa is kind of shown here. This encompasses Burkina Faso and Senegal, of course, as mentioned. And for each country, you see we have networked with institutions, including universities that have typically been the home of the innovation hubs, and individuals who are participating in the scaling and capacity building efforts, as well, of course, as including gender integration and youth engagement. Note also the continued involvement from phase 1 of Tillers International with Rob Burdick, as mentioned already, a valuable member of our West African team. Next slide. Similarly, for our Asian region, which includes Bangladesh and Cambodia, we have well-established connections with institutions, once again, universities included as the innovation hub locations, and also private and public sector organizations and individuals actively promoting scaling up of technologies with the targets of sustainability and self-reliance, as well as capacity building, and once again, including gender integration and youth engagement. Next slide. On the topic of technology scalability or performing in-country assessments of technologies that were previously developed, tested, and evaluated in phase 1. These assessments would address their relative level of readiness, sustainability, resilience for in-country deployment. The two strategies that we created was, first of all, a scaling gap analysis, and then also a technology readiness assessment. Next slide. Next slide. So in the case of the scaling gap analysis, this is a qualitative approach, and the goals are, first of all, to perform in-depth exchanges with two separate sets of respondents, farmers, first of all, and then also value chain participants having control over project resources and having substantial influence on the adoption of the technology. In this way, providing a key information source relevant to scaling. Another goal was to understand local perspectives on scaling that would highlight any sort of impediments and opportunities, as well as solutions to overcoming the impediments. Next slide. In the case of the technology readiness assessment, this was a quantitative assessment targeting current users and potential non-users with questions addressing the impact of technologies on productivity, affordability, the environment, as well as training, safety, and ease of use relative to the technology, and also looking at these in the context of use by women and youth. Next slide. A work plan has already been put into place and implemented for the two assessments to take place in Burkina Faso and to be targeting the planter technology there. And so there are steps of identifying trainers or field agents to be able to administer the assessment, and then followed by conducting a training of the trainers, and then collecting data from focus groups, and obviously then analyzing the data. In terms of progress with the work plan, the train the trainers component took place this past December with a team of 3 faculty and 12 graduate students from Naziboni University. So the next step is the data collection targeting 30 current users at 5 different sites, involving a 1-day session for educating non-users about the technology, and then actually performing the survey and then analyzing the data. I will now pass on to Maria Jones, our gender specialist.
Thank you, Dr. Hansen. Next slide, please. Thank you. A major component of sustainable intensification is ensuring that both men and women farmers can utilize and benefit from ag mechanization. Gender in ASMC Phase 2, a major aspect of our gender integration strategy is to ensure that women farmers can access and benefit from mechanization, and also to build capacity amongst the institutions in the different aspects of the technology adoption pathway. So in the next slide, I really wanted to explain a little bit more about our gender integration strategy, where we have adapted it from IFPRI. We are utilizing a three-step approach where we are looking to ensure that both men and women can benefit from agricultural mechanization, looking at both, women and men are being reached by mechanization, women and men benefit from mechanization, and of course, women and men are empowered from mechanization. Next slide, please. In Phase 1, we had built capacity at the innovation hubs to better address mechanization needs for both women and men. So in Phase 2, we will build upon our activities and our research by specifically looking at a technology's design, dissemination, adoption, and use, and to ensure that in these 4 different aspects that ASMC will continue to promote and address gender needs. This pathway has been adopted from 2 other USAID projects, the Ingenious project, as well as from the sustainable, the small scale irrigation innovation lab. And finally, in our next slide, you will see 2 different blog posts that appeared on AgriLinks. And if you're interested, feel free to check it out. One of them was co-written by Dr. Tim Harrigan from Michigan State and myself on how we have been designing mechanization to benefit women smallholder farmers. And previously also some of a broad scale approach to the different gender approaches that we have used in agricultural mechanization in phase 1. Thank you. And now passing on to Dr. George Sapa, who will talk about youth integration and extension approaches.
Well, thank you, Maria. Looking at the importance of extending the information and making sure that producers are able to use the information, we hope to build on the extension model that's been around for over 100 years in the United States. If we could go to the next slide, please. Extension has a rich history of providing this research-based information, and we hope to build on that successful model to scale up and encourage producers to adopt these new practices across the board. Could do the next slide, please. One of the real strengths of the extension model has been the focus on demonstration, that farmers can actually see the new technology in place. They get a chance to evaluate it and see how it might fit into their operation. And so again, the way that extension has been able to reach producers is not only through these demonstration projects, but also a key component to adopting this new technology is working with the youth. And the 4-H program that was started over 100 years ago really builds on this concept that by engaging youth, this is a very effective way to make sure that the information is carried out throughout the countries. And we hope to imitate and build on that successful model as we try and encourage this new technology to be widely adopted. If you could do the next slide, please. The real benefit that we see with using the existing 4-H model is that many of the programs are already in place. They're available freely online. Producers and anyone in any country around the world can readily access this information. They can tap into some of these things that might be of interest to them. And one of the things that we're really excited about in the next slide is that with you see the growth of 4-H, at least in Illinois. One of our most popular programs that really seems to captivate young people is interest in robotics. And this has really a nice fit with the technologies that are being developed and being promoted, is that it's a way to engage youth in a way that encourages and excites them to be involved in something that's a little bit more high tech. It's something that we feel is a very important route for some of the youth to really get excited about agriculture. It fits very well with the mechanization component of the project. And certainly it's a way that we hope to encourage youth to not only get involved, but also spread that information around to their parents and others that might be watching to see what they do. So with that, I'll pass the program over back to Dr. Kalita, who has some final comments. Dr. Kalita.
Thank you, George. As you have heard from our management team here, I'll just finish it with giving some outlook and some of the recent progress that we have made. In spite of all the limitations in our travel and communications and all this other, we continue to make good progress within last few months of the starting of this ASMC phase 2. You already heard about that in Burkina Faso. We developed the technology readiness assessment tool. Dr. Hansen already talked a little bit about that. We also did the scaling gap analysis tool. And along with that, we conducted a training of facilitators and the data collectors with 3 faculty and 12 graduate students in the middle of December last year, about, within last month. Currently, the data collection is in progress in Burkina Faso. In Senegal, as you know, this is a new country. We are not, Senegal wasn't part of it for our ASMC phase 1. However, we got excellent partners there. They're moving very fast. We are working on collaborating on developing some agricultural mechanization curriculum with the University of Chess. And also they collaborated in the development of TRA, the Technology Readiness Assessment tool, and Scaling Gap Analysis tool, along with a few other possibilities that are going on right now there. Next one, please. For Bangladesh, we made a significant progress there. They have made a huge success in the policy changes to provide the governmental combined harvester subsidy program. The government right now is helping the farmers with a 60% cost of the combined harvester. BAU, the Bangladesh Agriculture University, hosted the virtual annual workshop in September. It is a huge success. Honorable Agriculture Minister Dr. Muhammad Abdul Razak attended that along with many other dignitaries from Bangladesh. And with that one, now the Bangladesh is in a full force and a lot of support from the government and public organizations to move forward in scaling up of the technologies. In Cambodia, a lot of good things are happening. We have excellent collaborators there. They are currently, we are looking at a new position to hire at SIIL for a joint gender and youth specialist. Would also be led by Maria from Illinois, but also will give some help to those the new people that are coming on board. They have also going to launch the Go Native app, and that is to connect the local vegetable farmers with consumers through a delivery service provided by tuk-tuk, those little rickshaw drivers out there. Next slide, please. So, looking at that, here are some examples. These are the pictures. As you can see, some of the pictures here, some reapers and little combine harvesters, small scale one. On the right side, you see the picture of the workshop that we had with the Honorable Bangladesh Agriculture Minister and other dignitaries, the Vice Chancellors of Bangladesh Agriculture University. This all was organized by Dr. Alam, our fearless leader from Bangladesh Agriculture University. As you might be, I'd like to mention that the Bangladesh Agricultural Mechanization Innovation Hub constantly publicizes through Facebook and other data sources their work, videos, and also I encourage you to go and look at that website. Next, please. So where do we go from that in terms of all the data sets out there? Our research activities in each of the countries are producing a lot of data for mechanization, on gender, on youth, and everything else. There is an example here on the right side graph. You can see that this one is a data set generated from schools, Sufana High School in Cambodia. And basically, this research was done look to find out the interest of the youth in agriculture-related career. And this work continues. The other data that is coming from in the Bangladesh, a lot of technology, gender-related work coming from Bangladesh and Cambodia, and Ethiopia vegetable data, Burkina Faso tillage and planter data, and in Ethiopia corn forage rotation and muzzy pump research, as well as the gender and youth engagement in all those 4 countries. All these data are being collected and analyzed right now. Next slide, please. Now you might say, where are all this data going? One of our dream for this project is to develop a website that everybody can use. Whole world can go into and find anything related to the mechanization, information, resource, design, limitations, and everything else. So we are developing, but not developing we just launched the new ASMC website, and we send this information to all of our partners. So we want to become the leading entity for the appropriate scale mechanization globally. We intend to make this as available, a continuous updating of information from not only for our ASMC countries, but also for other countries. We will try to make it for all crops as much as possible for all regions. So people, they need some information, they will go to our website. We are planning to collaborate with FAO on this data management and the website. Next slide, please. So we will not be able to do this work without the help and support of all our partners out there. As Leighton has already mentioned, we are very grateful to USAID, the Feed the Future initiative, and the SIIL, Dr. Vera and Dr. Jen help on a daily basis, and us, Kansas State, Michigan State, North Carolina, ADM Institute for the Prevention of Post-Harvest Loss, and Tillers International. Our international partners are listed here. I'm not going to read all those names, but we are thankful and grateful that they have all given us their time, resources, and people so that we can make a big impact through this ASMC project. So with that, I will conclude. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can send the questions to us at any time. And here is contact information for myself and the fearless project manager, Leighton. Thank you.